You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Hey everybody, it's Mr. Chris, and I gotta tell you about Expedition Roasters. Listen, I'm a pretty big coffee drinker, just like a lot of you are, but these people have got coffee right. Their coffees are made from selectively sourced premium and specialty grade Arabica beans. They provide the absolute best flavor and aroma, and select roast even come directly from a single estate farm for a truly perfect cup that is never bitter. They've got awesome Disney-inspired flavors such as Roundhouse Roast, Route 66, Skipper's Brew, Dark Side Roast, Redhead Rum, and one of my favorites, Bob Slitter's Brew. Listen, if you want to have the taste of Disney in every cup, give them a try today. ExpeditionRoasters.com, and Behind the Ears podcast listeners gets an extra 20% off your first order by using the coupon code EARS20. That's right, EARS20. And you can find them over at ExpeditionRoasters.com. Brew your happy place. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to grow hair and you're going to wish you didn't buzz your head. And then I got to like 27. I was like, ooh, my dad was bald at this point. I should probably grow my hair out. And this is literally like 6 months, and that's it. My hair. All the hair grows here.
You're all styling.
So someone would like to know, what are you guys talking about tonight?
There's a few things. First off, we had some people submit some questions, and we're going to get to some, if not all of them, later. But I don't know if you had a chance to see, but the thing that kind of really started to get a good amount of, I'll call it rolling momentum, is the idea that, you remember a number of shows ago, we talked about how there was going to most likely be some kind of development over where River Country was. And we talked about it. People speculated it. What could it be? What's it going to be used for? So on and so forth. Well, it seems like the strong money right now is that they're going to put a resort there. And there's even rumors, even stronger rumors, that it very well might be something of a DVC resort or a mixed resort. And the reason why people thought that was because, I guess, like around 2011, there was a rumored, DVC hotel that was supposed to go in that particular area, even to the point where, according to DVCinfo.com, that they even had like a little bit of a graphical presentation that's actually out on YouTube that kind of show it, being built up, and it looks like a relatively significantly sized resort. And so, what?
It's not happening.
Why do you think it's not going to happen?
I don't know why my camera's freaking out right now, but you can hear me good. That's right. That's all right.
It's fine.
You can hear me?
I can hear you fine. But why,
okay, cool.
I was going to say,
there's no way. First of all, the logistical nightmare of the red tape that would have to happen. Listen, it's documented proof. There was an outbreak of a virus there. Yes, they changed the water filters and they changed it. Still soaked into the ground. That land has not been touched since, what year did it close? 98?
Oh, way before I started going back. So it's been closed for probably, let's call it the better part of 20 years.
There's just no way.
It seems like
2001.
It seems like since they, supposedly they've got some contractors on, online for it type of thing. It sounds like it very well might happen though, and
first of all, the red tape that would have to go on for that to happen. Not only the red tape, the cost of all building material and construction has to be shipped over on a boat. That ain't cheap, people. Disney does not own boats big enough to haul cranes. So you're going out and these are big money things. This is not it's Disney, they can afford it. Absolutely, they can afford it. This is big money. There's so much logistical red tape. And think about it. That hotel during a hurricane scenario is utterly useless. They will have to get everybody off of that island.
No,
Where didn't they close
island.
Wilderness?
It's not the island.
No, but if it floods, think of it. Didn't they get Wilderness Lodge? Didn't that get evacuated during the last hurricane? Which hotel was getting evacuated because they were too close to water? I know Polly's bungalows got evicted. They weren't allowed to stay.
It was just the cabins. No, not the cabins. Not the cabins, but the bungalows I call them the bungalows at Copper Creek, as well as the bungalows over at Polly. But yeah, they got evacuated, but it wasn't because I don't think it was because of what
Well, it was completely in the water.
Well, because
technically there's that in the water. Yeah, but if river country is surrounded by water, yes, I know there's the back part that you can get out of it, but it's not. I don't want to call it a peninsula, but I guess it kind of is because river country kind of juts out.
Yeah,
on its own.
I mean, the thing of it is though, is that 20 years of non-development, it's not the same type of land. I kind of have to agree with what Trisha was saying online there. Over the years, the rain treatments, etc., the land's changed and it's going to happen. And the permits have been filed. People have been,
But I can make the argument the other way though. Listen, River Country was my favorite thing Disney ever did outside of creating Toy Story. Like, I loved River Country. I've got numerous stories from River Country. But the thing is, you could make the argument, oh, well, rain, treatment, etc., land has changed. How do you know it didn't change for the worse?
Well, that's what they were doing.
You don't know.
They were doing all those soil samples and geological type studies not too long ago.
But then why did it take 20 years?
There has to be some other logistic to it. And the only thing I could think of is that they probably had to have to wait until some sort of I don't know the technical term, but some sort of judgment on the land was able to be turned into something else. That's the only thing I could think of.
Listen, permits can be filed left and right, and I will be the first person to admit when I'm wrong if they say, hey, we're breaking ground, here it is. Until that first shovel goes in the soil, I do not think this is anywhere going to happen, just like Haunted Mansion's not turning into a Coco-themed ride. That's the level of what I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay,
I really don't.
I'll admit. I understand where you're coming from. I personally think that this is going to end up happening. When exactly is the other story. And I think right now, some people are using some different pieces of logic and reason in order to make this happen. Some are saying that, within a couple of years, Copper Creek is going to be, sold out with actually before the end of next year is what people are predicting. They're going to have something else put, for DVC members to buy into. And of course, with everything expanding, especially approaching the 50th anniversary, they have a need for more rooms. Now, those are the things that I'm thinking that point to the possibility. Hey, listen, I said it back when we talked about it before, when we were starting to do the geological studies. I personally don't think that it would happen this quickly. Okay. But it seems like, according to what people are saying, and some pretty decent sources too, I might add, the fact of the matter is, I think this is going to happen faster than I think we think it's going to happen. And you and I both know that they're not going to be able to do anything with it unless for some reason it's going to get all the right approvals. Because Disney's not going to put a bunch of money into something and then someone say, "Oh, this is going to, sink into sink into the lake with everything else," or anything like that.
I don't. Disney wouldn't build on something that would sink. That would just be, I know what you're saying, because there are some kooks out there. They're like, "Oh my God, we're gonna float away." I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's been empty and uninhabited for 17 years.
Mm-hmm,
it closed, and people say why different variations on why it closed. Listen, Disney had just built a brand new water park. They at that time did not feel it was necessary to have 2 water parks, even though now they have 2 water parks. And remember, guys, that was a very outdated water park with very old technology. It was the first Disney water park. Things changed. Well, they didn't keep up with it.
There was a lot of things wrong with it too by the time they finally closed it. I mean, so there was a lot of different logistics. I agree. When they finally, put in Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, there was no way that River Country could have been able to compete with it. There was just no way in the world. Not to mention, that it actually drew its water supply from the lake, and we all know the stories about how the lake is contaminated, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So, obviously over the past 20 years, obviously things have changed. The geological studies are going to have to be right in order for them to put anything on it. I mean, think about it. You're talking, thousands of tons worth of construction materials to be put on top of it. They're obviously going to make sure that it's not going to impact the environment. That's probably one of the biggest things. Is they probably had to wait until there was something going on with, whether or not it was going to be considered protected wetland or anything else like that. I mean, that's why Disney's really careful about that. Disney's really careful about that. So the fact of the matter is that whether or not it's no longer considered protected land, wetland, or anything else like that, or there's certain boundaries that they have to be within. It's a very distinctive possibility. I think it's going to happen. The exact timing, I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. I know that there's a lot of people that are already going up in arms over the whole DVC speculation. Chances are, I think almost any big hotel that they're going to put in these days, unless it's distinctly a value resort, is going to most likely have some DVC components in with it. Very much like how you have Wilderness Lodge, as well as Wilderness Lodge, DePauli, and Animal Kingdom Lodge all have both hotel and DVC components to them. I bet you any money that's going to be their business plan from going on.
You're saying that they have a need because of the 50th coming up.
Not just the 50th coming up, but I'm sure there's a need that is going to be correlation. That's going to have a correlation between what's going on and a kind of a supply and demand for future, easy for me to say, future looking supply and demand.
I mean, 2021, are you really banging out? I mean, let's do this real quick. So you can't count that, can't count that. All right, so Boulder Ridge Villas, 136 rooms. Copper Creek, 220 rooms. The Riviera will have 300 rooms. Movies, 1,900. All-Star Music, 1,600. Sports, 1,920. Animal Kingdom Jambo. Wait, hold on.
But what are you really getting at, though?
I'm getting at the fact of this, according to touring plans, Disney, technically, because Disney owns some outside hotels, but Disney basically has about 33,000 rooms on property.
Sure.
What's another hotel? Like, I just don't see the value in that. Well, I get the more people, but you're pushing people into where?
Well, here's the funny part. Everybody thinks Copper Creek Villas was this big, gigantic ordeal. Like you said, it only has like 133 rooms, that are designated for sale. That's why they're also saying that chances are they are going to sell out within 2019. Actually, I think it's going to sell out a lot sooner than that, but that's just my 2 cents. That's a whole different show. The thing of it is that it's if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the smaller, if not.
Which one is it?
Copper Creek. compared to other DVC resorts. The Grand Californian out in Disneyland is probably the smallest. Well, it is the smallest.
220 rooms.
Okay, I thought you said it was 100.
Copper Creek Villas and cabins, so they count the cabins in there.
Count the cabins. Okay, so
the smallest is actually surprisingly Treehouse Villas at Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, but that's actually technically a part of Saratoga Springs.
But for some reason, touring plans separated from Saratoga.
I totally get it. They may be. I mean, I've always known it to be the same. I mean, I believe I can get my 11-month priority at tree houses if I wanted to. Anyway, that's again for a different shoe. But
the thing is the question everybody's having, and it's the same question I'm saying. Can the parks really handle another 300? Like, what's the new resort? The new resort, which is the Riviera, is 300 rooms.
Yeah.
Let's say they go with the same exact size hotel. Can the parks handle another additional? That's 300 rooms. That's not 300 people. No, even if you had an average size, we'll go 3.
Yeah, you're talking.
You're talking about 900 people.
You're 900 to 1,000 people. I mean, think about it. 900 to 1,000 people spread apart over four resorts, if you go on averages, is nothing. It's 250 people.
No, but I'm saying that still does not add the 900 people you're getting out of the Riviera, because that one's not built yet. You're talking about the Toy Story. I mean, the Star Wars hotel, which I don't think there's an exact number count for that resort. You're talking about, let's call it, say there was maybe 500 rooms. Let's call it 15. You're talking about another 4,000 people. You see how packed the parks are now. Can you imagine an additional 4,000 people? Even if you broke that over 4 parks, additional 1,000 people.
Yeah, I think there's one problem though. We've been seeing huge lines at the parks for the most part, mainly because if you think about it, they've only been operating at 3.5 parks.
3.5. Yeah.
I mean, granted, that's not the full answer to it. Okay. I totally get it. That is not the full answer to it. And it's also partially an excuse because DHS was having some, do I want to say problems in bringing people in just because, it really needed the facelift that it's getting in Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge. Actually, I think what's going to happen after that comes about, all of a sudden Hollywood Studios is going to be the place to be, and other parks are going to have to really step up their game. I know Epcot is obviously getting, a couple new things that's going to bring more people into Epcot. And because right now, a lot of people think Epcot's a half day park, just because not everybody takes advantage of going through the countries and everything else like that, which I think is kind of a shame. I mean, to us, we spend an easy 2 days at Epcot without thinking twice. So
the Animal Kingdom was for the longest time before Pandora was considered a half-day park. And let's be honest, it's a full day because Pandora rides just take forever.
Well, and the thing of it is, I never understood that either, because I think you can do it even before Pandora. If you try to really enjoy the park at its fullest, not just do rides, but go through Rafiki's Planet Watch and the Maharaja Jungle Track and everything else like that, and you really try to enjoy the park for everything that it has, you can easily spend a day and a half there without thinking. Listen,
I get every family does it differently, because there was no way I could stretch a day in there.
But also, here's also something else to think about. The way that a single person would enjoy the parks is also a lot different than, say a family. So, because I know for a fact that when my wife and I went down there last July by ourselves, we were able to do so much more, so much faster because it was just the two of us.
We have 2 less people saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even with a good plan, you still have breaks and this, that, and the other, and so on and so forth. But you're right. There's a lot less to deal with. So a person, okay, if you're single, if you're a solo traveler, you can do a lot really quick. So your perspective is obviously different. If you're a family of 3 or 4, or dare even say 5, all of a sudden that half-day park becomes a day-and-a-half park if you want to hit everything. Of course, that doesn't usually happen. How many times do you go to a park and say, I really wanted to do this, but I didn't get a chance to?
It's usually just Magic Kingdom.
See, here's the funny part. Magic Kingdom, I'll do a solid day, and I won't even do a full day there. I'll do like a half day here and a half day there, drop in for something else on a third day, or something to that extent. Where all the others, I will spend 3/4 of a day. But then again, we do it differently anyhow. We are the kind of person, we'll go to one park, we'll take a break, we'll go to another park in the evening, we'll switch it up. So it's a little different. Going back to the resort though, you and I actually talked about this in the last show, the possibility that, there might be a fifth gate considered for the around the 50th, or at least announced around the 50th. DVC is continually to grow in its demand. And I'll tell you right now, seriously, if people think that's not the case, they wouldn't be raising the price of the points for buy-ins to where it is today. If there was not a demand for it, it wouldn't be twice as much as when I bought in 10 years ago. In fact, I can sell my points right now for everything that it is, for basically what I paid for it. I could basically have said I would have had the last 10 years of vacations practically free. And, because now the resale market is so much different than it was only a few years ago, because the price point is so much. So there is a demand for another DVC hotel. There is demand for another deluxe type of accommodation. And I saw some of the artist renderings for it. Again, these are back from 2011 when DVC was originally considering this, again, according to dvcinfo.com. And, the fact of the matter is, it looks great. It really does. It looks like it could be an extraordinarily fabulous resort, and it looks big. Let me go ahead and say that right off the bat. It looks big, and it's kind of a hub and spoke arrangement, not in a circle, but you have a center lobby, and then very much like the Animal Kingdom Lodge and Kandani Village also has, it'll go off from the center into different, branches, so to speak, from what it looks like. Very much like how Wilderness Lodge is already set up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Again, a lot of this is speculation, but I think that I think it'll end up happening. It's just a matter of when. I mean, I realize we have a lot of thought process on it. It's going to be really interesting to see what really happens.
They'll have to 100% open a fifth park, with talk of Universal contemplating opening 2 new lands, essentially.
I think it's going to happen.
Or 2 gates, technically, they're calling them.
I mean, okay, Star Wars Land is obviously going to be huge. The whole Galaxy's Edge thing, that's going to be huge. It's going to make Hollywood Studios be what it should have been 10 years ago.
What it was 10 years ago.
Nah, I'll say even more so, because even 10 years ago, when you did the Year of a Million Dreams, and they also brought in like all the different attractions from Disneyland Paris, they brought in Lights, Motors, Action, and some of the other different things going on, and Soarin' came in from California, and all those different things. Not just for Hollywood Studios, mind you, just across the board, they brought in different things. Think of the land mass that they needed for Lights, Motors, Action. I mean, that was huge. And now all of that is gone. It's going to be Galaxy's Edge. I mean, that's a lot of real estate, dude. A lot of real estate.
But I'm just saying, 10 years ago, that park was an actual full day park. You had, not Jumanji. I don't know why Jumanji's in my brain. Indiana Jones, Lights, Motor, Action, Backlot Tour, Rock and Roller Coaster, Toy Story Mania, Tower of Terror. Then you had the whole the Disney Junior section. Mm-hmm. You had, It's a Bug's Life, that section.
Yeah, there was no, not It's a Bug's Life. It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, correct. Then you had the little area for the kids. Was that Dino Land, or were like that?
No, that was Animal Kingdom.
No, where's the scoop? The diggers are there too. No, they have like the little construction vigor. That's Animal Kingdom.
That was You're thinking of the Boneyard.
Yes, I am thinking of the Boneyard, and that is Animal Kingdom. My apologies. Oh yeah, American Idol experience. That was there for a while. I mean, there was a lot to do in MGM back in the day. A lot to do.
Yeah,
but things, they started taking things away.
Yeah, well, the other part to it is that there was a lot of unused real estate even in the middle of Hollywood studios. Like, think of, the streets of America that they had, that kind of like took a big gigantic street that acted as a backlot, so to speak, right before you get to Lights, Motors, Action. That was nothing. I mean, it was just a big, gigantic street. It was kind of a soundstage-ish type of thing. I mean, you had a couple of food carts and the used guys merchandise cart, which I always thought was funny. And it was there for the Osborne family lights every year. Mm-hmm. That was about the only thing it was really used for.
That was a more good place to walk away from everybody and just kind of take. I loved it though. You felt cool. Like you were in a real city. They did such a good job with it.
They did, and that's the funny part is that it really was. I mean, okay, it used up a lot of real estate, but it was still fun to walk through there, and it was still fun to see some of the old storefront. My daughter used to love to take pictures sitting on like the stairs of the house, the apartment bungalows type of thing. She called it the record album picture type of thing. And there's some great memories just by taking some of the hey dad, take my picture, hey dad, take my picture, that sort of thing. So I have to kind of go with the idea that within the next couple of years, especially as we approach the 50th, we're going to hear an announcement of something going on with the fifth park. The problem of it is that it's way too early to even come close to thinking about what it could be. And we've done shows on speculation of what a fifth park would be. We've had fun with that. It's been great for speculation. But the biggest problem to it is I think they're building the hotels now so that, yes, they're going to have a crowding problem first. Then they're going to have the fifth park because it's going to take years for a fifth park to be built.
Oh God, you're talking about if they announce it, let's call it, when was 2017 was the last D23 in Anaheim? So 2019, technically 2021 D23 should fall before the 50th.
Mm-hmm, right.
So you're talking about 4 more years till they even announce it. And I would say if you're building an immersive park, a fifth gate,
you're talking, I'm thinking at least 4 years,
maybe
5 to build. Well, here's the thing.
I was going 8.
No. Well, here's the thing. Here's the interesting part. When Disneyland, let alone Walt Disney World, was first put up, it wasn't as expansive as it was right now. So, they may not necessarily, if they build a fifth park, they would probably build it to such an extent where it's going to be desired and desirable, but they're going to continue building sections of it as guests enjoy what is there at first, and they're going to expand it type of thing.
I don't like that idea.
The thing is, it's about the only way to really do it. I mean, think about it. Pandora took 2 years to build, and that was just 2.
Yeah, 6 years of planning, but
you know what? That I think was that was I'll tell you something right now. I think that was a fluke. I think that was a big fluke because something as extravagant as Pandora is. And it is extravagant. It may not, some people have different opinions on it. It's still very, very extravagant. The interesting part to it is that, I think a lot of people thought it was going to be vaporware, that it was going to end up not being, it was not going to happen. But I don't think that Disney is going to have that same kind of vaporware feeling to anything they do with the fifth park. They're going to want it to be big and large and in charge. That's just my 2 cents.
Aaron says, it took Animal Kingdom 5 years. And this is not to be a negative Nancy, but what was in Animal Kingdom?
Well, it's not,
3/4 of it was the safari.
Well, here's the thing though. it's not just okay. I see what you're saying with that.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying. But here's the thing: it's all the systems that have to go behind the scenes. Think about it.
That's my point. I'm saying if Animal Kingdom took 5, you gotta think if they're going immersive, a minimum 7.
Well, you're probably so, but the thing is also you're dealing with animals, and I think there were probably a lot of different things that there. Well, okay, there have to be a whole different set of challenges, whole different new set of challenges to build a park rather than dealing with, hundreds of acres of also land that try to keep animals from going crazy, and then also have all the backstage areas to keep those animals healthy and safe and clean.
Oh, absolutely.
And take care of them.
There's 80% of that park is done behind the scenes, and you don't see.
You're probably right. I mean, but the thing is that when I say 4 to 5 years, again, I think that's to get a park operational, not necessarily to get a park completed.
I could say 5 years. I would probably say you're looking at the park being about 45% done. But 45%, you could still push people in there.
45%, depending how big it is. It may be a Hollywood studio sized, effort now, as Hollywood studio stands now. The thing, so here's the deal. You want to build a 5th gate, but you want to basically alleviate the crowding problem by having a 5th gate. You don't want to necessarily push people off site and then have them come in to the 5th gate. You want to make sure that before that 5th gate opens, that you have rooms for those people, because you want them on site. That's what I'm saying. It seems like a little bit about putting the cart before the horse, but there's a strategy to that. And if they're able to do that, if they've got the green light from all different permit people to put a hotel there, I'm sure there's going to be a hotel portion to it. I am willing to bet a decal that there is going to be a DVC presence there.
Okay. And I will bet a button. No, this is not really a bet, so I can't bet a button. We want buttons. Facebook.com, Behind the Ears Podcast, clicks the button shop. If
wow, that was the smoothest plug you have done in a long time, man. That was wee.
If you build a park on this sacred holy ground, which I'm probably going to be wrong, I'll eat crow for it, whatever. But if you do break ground and you build a hotel and there is nothing talking about what used to lie under that hotel, you did yourself a huge you screwed up. In my opinion.
Why would you call it hallowed ground? I mean, I understand. I think I understand your perspective of it. Why would you?
If I can get a tattoo of River Country, I'm gonna get River Country's map tattooed on my back.
Oh my god!
I loved River Country. Oh, it was so much fun. It wasn't a swimming pool; it was a swimming hole. Oh man, that was such a good time. Such good family memories there. Why do I feel that it was Disney? It was an iconic thing. It was Disney's first water park. Disney was, just breaking into the game with that water park. Not saying that, no, that probably something's going to come out wrong. Someone's going to butcher me for it. Just, this was their first baby when it came to water parks. They were really big into this water park. And this was truly what Disney was about. You had families that just sat on those beaches and the chairs and their kids were just swimming. It was just, I don't know. There was something about it where I don't think now it would be appreciated as much as it was. But back then when I used to go, I had fun in all the parks. Don't get me wrong. We loved it. But you felt at home at River Country.
It was meant to be that old fashioned swimming hole.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a swimming pool or a swimming area or a water park as you know it. It was supposed to be the old fashioned swimming hole. And kind of like as Cindy put it, a simpler time. I really like that. And as Kim mentioned, laid back and very cool. And I totally get it. Or
like Chris mentions, Action Park may have been better. Chris, they're coming out with a movie about it. Can't wait. Action Park, for anybody who knows, it was a water park / amusement park in New Jersey, and it has the highest death count. So they shut it down. People used to die all the time. Lawsuits at the yin yang. They used to come down this one slide, and kids used to go flying off the slide. was wild, dude. This is back like the 70s.
Okay,
It was wild back then.
So
They didn't have regulations back then.
okay, so my first thought is, as an adult, I'd be like, oh man, there's no way I'd want to do that. Of course, I think back to myself back when I was, back a kid around that time. Dude, let me try that. Let me try that. I'll sign up.
Absolutely. You're saying there's a chance?
I mean, after all, just like back then, there was no warning labels on a slip and slide. It's like nowadays it's like, hey, let's take the slip and slide and let's also add, like, I don't know, dish soap just so you can go faster.
It was like they didn't have to warn people that the contents of their hot coffee needed to say hot coffee on the cup. It was a simpler time, a little more common sense.
The bag of peanuts that says warning contains peanuts.
Yeah. No, I just feel like if you don't walk into the lobby and they don't have like a little gold emblem on the ground that, like, when you stand, that it has like maybe something written, basically like, hey, where you're standing now is the top of the water slide into the swimming hole. Just something to, like, I'm not saying to design the hotel, anything like River Country. Listen, I don't like that theming, so that's the last thing I would like to see. But just something. Put it in the bathroom. I don't care. Something.
But this just came to me. Every resort hotel has to have a pool.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
There might be some theming there that's going to be some retro. Maybe not. And I know what people will say, oh, it's not going to be the same. It doesn't do that homage very well. It just doesn't cut it. Well, it's going to be one of those things. I mean, you're going to, I don't know. They may or may not do it. You and I love the speculation mode, but who knows? Maybe there are some people within Disney are going to be like, man, there's no way I want to remember River Country, because I mean, it really has an issue.
Sorry, I'm nodding while you're talking. It's just I'm answering people.
Right. I know.
No, the Shades of Green was owned by Disney and then sold to the Department of Defense. Chris is correct. Nice hotel, though. Oh, hey, Jimmy. Hope you're enjoying Disney. From the Animal Kingdom Lodge, huh?
Man, I love the Animal. I love the Animal Kingdom Lodge. And you know what? Go ahead and call it bougie. I'll give you that one. I love it. I really like it.
Someone sent me a link of that River Country, and I wasn't sure if it was for real, and I wanted to check with you both. Yeah, River Country was a real thing for many years. It was a grand old time.
There used to be a Disney radio station. Let me rephrase that. A radio station that played different Disney theme songs and stuff like that, and then it had its own theme song. It was really kind of a cool thing. It was really.
You know how like just old school River Country was, because when it was built, like they tried to be one of the first people to have speakers outside, and they wanted to make it look like a rock. No, it was just like a little Bose speaker, and they just took a cardboard rock and literally just cut a hole and placed it over it. So when there was wind or someone would trip over it, the rock would be rolling down a hill, and here was the cemented in. Like, I can tell you crazy stuff. River Country was a blast. Absolute blast.
I know that, and the funny part is that our friend Jake Williams from Bright Sun Films actually did a couple different documentaries as a part of his Abandoned series that really talks a lot about River Country, a lot of really good data from it as well. I'd highly recommend, if anybody's listening, go to Bright Sun Films over on YouTube. Check out what Jake has done. He's been releasing some really, really super good stuff. And we hope that he was supposed to be with us during the marathon show. He wasn't able to due to some family conflicts. I shouldn't say family conflicts. That doesn't sound right. Some conflicts that he had to work with.
With his family.
Yeah, not one of those things. That's not the case. Sorry, Jake, if you're listening. That's not what I meant. But we want to have him back to talk a little bit about some of his newest Disney adventures. But Bright Sun Films over at YouTube. Check that out. Again, it's like a part one, and like a part one was just River Country, and then he went back, and it was like right after they filled it in because they were trying to get rid of stagnant water and stuff like that from, dealing with Zika virus and other stuff like that. Really good set of documentaries. So I will say, my whole take on it is I really do stand by my guess, my thought process. I think anything that Disney puts up right now from a hotel standpoint, if it's not a value or if it's not a dedicated moderate, it's going to end up being a deluxe hotel that's going to have a DVC component to it. I think that they would be smart to build their hotels in that manner going forward. And I
stand very strongly that they will not build a hotel here. You heard it. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I'm not wrong at the same time. Like, part of me wants you to build a hotel because new hotel is always fun to go check out. I think that land is being wasted. We've been saying for months that we wish they would build something there. I would have preferred to redo the park and bring it back to its glory days. So, I mean, it's going to be a bittersweet moment.
There is one thing I will say. The one thing I will say about it, the diagrams and stuff like that I saw, and all this is subject to change. The one thing I'm glad that I saw or didn't see, as the case may be, is I didn't see them putting up more cabins along the lakefront. Like they have over for Copper Creek or the Poly. Mm-hmm. And because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, I'm not jealous. I'm not hurt at the idea that I'll probably never have enough points or never enough cash to be able to stay in one of those, bungalows or one of the cabins, as they call them. I personally, I wouldn't be able to see it. I wouldn't be able to stay there. And I just don't think that, when you have such a really cool backdrop of that lake, as well as to be able to see Discovery Island, don't disrupt that view. Make that whole lake is really beautiful. Don't disrupt the view. So I didn't see that. I'm hoping that still remains the case. Again, I realize that all this is speculation. And like you said, it doesn't, it's not going to, it's all speculation until someone, shovels out that first scoop of dirt. And then my take is it's never totally official until the first guest actually experiences it.
I mean, I'll eat crow the minute ground is broken. Until then, I stand strong. But, people are saying they should remodel all the all-star resorts before they build new hotels.
Well,
you ain't far off.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. And at the same time, I also believe that they should. Well, kind of like what we talked about last time. I came up with a moderate resort that was geared towards, had at least a wing that was geared a little bit more towards larger families. I still actually think that they should continue on with the idea of having a value resort that also has family suites so that you can have 6 people in a resort and not have it necessarily break the bank.
Just judging by our listeners and over time, right. This is not a knock on anybody. Don't take it that way. Guys, this is going to be a deluxe resort.
It is. Oh, there's no doubt about it. This will be a deluxe resort. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these, here's the catch. As I said, I think they're going to put something up like this and it's going to be DVC related, and therefore, Art Thou, it's going to have a deluxe component to it. But I still think they're going to. What, you think that stinks?
I want moderate, man. Listen, I can talk to the significant other and be like, hey, let's an extra $80, $100 a night. Let's stay here. That's fine. It's hard when people go on the internet and see a room for $120 and you're like, no, we're not staying there. We're going to stay for $500 a night. I mean, when you're talking about literally a $350 swing a night, I'm not made of money, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It is
for a room that you're really not in, and I'm in the room a lot, and I still can't justify it.
I don't disagree, but that's also why I was also getting ready to say I think that there should still be other moderate and value resorts be able to be built up. I think it'll happen. I don't think this is going to. I don't know if they're going to continue the idea of, one hotel at a time. Building up things. I mean, once they get all the other construction done, I'd be very surprised if the first shovel wasn't already scooped up for whatever they're doing there over by River Country.
Yeah, Teresa had asked, if they build it, and even if they did, would that add more jobs? Well, of course. I mean, you're going to have construction people who have to get hired. The companies, they'll go, because I'm not sure if Florida really or Disney use unions or not. But let's say they don't. You're going to have to you're going to have a contractor. He's going to have to get a crew out there. You're going to have electricians, plumbers, sheetrock. You have everything building hotels.
You're gonna have your typical labor,
your typical
jobs.
Crew, and then inside, I mean, you're going to have bell service, concierge service, housekeeping, mousekeeping. Excuse me. There's a million jobs that come with that. I mean, it's good for the economy, sure. I feel bad because, I mean, this is just the way the world is. They're going to charge you $500 a night, and most of those people are going to make minimum wage.
Yeah, but here's also the thing. I'm going to say this, and I hope I don't get shot for this, but the fact of the matter is that, being a DVC member, it became beneficial for me to become a DVC member because even while I was paying off my membership, I was still basically what I was paying for a deluxe resort, I basically put into a membership. And after I paid off my membership, right now I'm only paying $800 and some a year for my dues. And I'm able to stay in a 1-bedroom villa at Animal Kingdom Lodge for 6 nights. I want you to, that's value money.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. So, I mean, granted, I'm not going to go into a big DVC thing, but the fact of the matter is that that's where we want to stay. And we're also doing a split stay. We are going to be staying at Art Animation for a couple nights too at a suite over there. But, the whole thing is that Disney is pushing DVC as basically the way to be able to afford more luxurious rooms. So,
Aaron brought up a really good point. You saw Jimmy's?
I saw that. I just caught it at the clips of my eye. I had to look down in the corner to see it. Like, that was awesome.
It was funny.
I loved it.
Aaron brought up a good point. It'd be hard to staff a 5th theme park. Disney World already hires about 77,000 people. And
you would probably have to add probably another 20,000 on top of it, on top of any other hotels that you add to the mix. And I'm being very, probably, on the low end.
Since you think 20,000?
Oh, probably easy. I mean, whatever they're going to do, they're going to do big. But also, you have to understand a lot of the cast members there, if I'm not mistaken, they're, a lot of them.
You don't see them.
You don't see them. They're going to be in the background. Also, a lot of them are part-time. A lot of them are also college program. So the fact of the matter is, I mean, it's my understanding, and some of our cast member friends can go ahead and feel free to correct me. Please, 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 please. But you're not talking about a lot of different salaried jobs that are there. So, you're talking about a lot of part-time, near full-time, some full-time for, those types of things.
See, Trisha says, why would it be hard? Kids are fighting to get into that program. But, I mean, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the past, 15 years. So there's jobs out there. People are getting hired. And it's not like, and listen, unless you're a huge Disney nut like we are, I love Disney to my core. I got a tattoo of it. All right. I would not leave my current employment to go work even full time at Disney. Wouldn't cover my bills at full time at Disney.
Well, here's the thing: the whole thing about the college program. I mean, there's a ton of people who apply for the college program that never make it, and some might say, "Hey, why didn't you make it? You're perfectly qualified." Disney does. I mean, Disney hires for specific purposes, whether it be hired or have the college program or what. And we have several people in our family of listeners who have their kids, in the college program. I mean, Kylie, she's listening right now, and we all know that she's a part of the college program. But we also know a lot of other people who didn't make it into the college program. I have gotten messages from people saying, you know, man, I got my, you know, my, I don't want to call it, you know, my
rejection letter.
Rejection letter. I was going to use a term that I've always been using for the past 20 years, but you know, it's one of those things. So the thing is that not everybody can work for Disney. I mean, Disney, you know, let me rephrase that. Not everybody can work for Disney because you know, Disney is not the only employer out there, and sometimes you're going to do better somewhere outside of Disney. And that is just something I really feel that people have to really look at it. Everybody wants to work for Disney. I get it. But, you know, the thing is that there's working for Disney and there's having a career at Disney. There's two things. And, you know, like you said, I don't know if I would be able to go and work for Disney right now in my current career path. If I go to retire, I am sure I can go work for Disney and do something else, something, you know, a change of life type of thing. And my wife and I have talked about that. You know, it's part of our 10-year plan, you know, possibly to do something and do something else for Disney. I mean, I probably won't be retired in 10 years, but you kind of catch my drift. When I go to retire, I would like to start a second career as just having a job at Disney.
So people are saying people use it for resume builders. And if you were an actor, an actress, a singer, maybe production, lighting, something like that, oh, God, yeah. You suck it up. You bite the bullet, man. I know stand-up comedians I know a couple I know them very well, that they were on the road for 10 years living with like 6 other guys in a 1-bedroom apartment just to make it. And they're making it now. And you have to, you know, it's just like this. You have to bite the bullet and, you know, do what it takes if you want that thing on your resume. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about your fry cooks. I'm talking about people picking up your trash in the park. I'm talking about, you know, people who paint the walls at night. I'm talking about what I like to consider the blue collar, the meat, you know, the meat and potatoes people, the people who go in there and are doing the work that a majority of us don't want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But those jobs require people. And it's tough. It's tough. And we're not turning it into, you know, Disney needs to pay their people more thing. I wish we could all get paid more. Listen, we all feel undervalued in our jobs. You know, we all do. We all feel like we do way more than we get paid. It's just, I think I'm not saying it's going to be hard for them to staff people because you're always going to have people. I just feel over the years we have seen and this is a stereotype. I feel we've seen the level of cast members drop a little bit.
I think it is,
in my opinion.
I think we have
spoiled for years.
Well, here's the thing. It's a perspective thing, because I know that we run into, you know, an unmagical cast member every once in a while. It's not been the norm, but the part that we've been seeing more and more is just the idea that, you know, people have been complaining about cast members more and more, but I also think that guests are starting to, I'll say expect or even demand more and more. And what I mean by that is they're not setting proper expectations for what they really should be getting. You know, I realize that, hey, Disney's expensive. We said this before. We'll say it again. Some people are expecting the moon, and, you know, they get mad when Disney doesn't necessarily provide the moon. And,
I want free stuff.
You know, I mean, and unfortunately, a lot of Disney pages, you'll see people just start flaming on people like that. And like, you know, why are you coming to Facebook to complain about it? Don't you think you should be talking to a supervisor or a manager there while you're there in order to get the problem solved? You know, someone said, there was a picture I saw and they were complaining about something. Yes, you have every right to comment and get it taken care of, but is it going to ruin your vacation? See, I just think that some guests are becoming very unruly in the sense of their expectations. Crap happens.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say crap happens. It's how you react to it that really makes it work. You know, really makes the difference.
I've got a great tip for people, and this is how I handle life. When I'm about to complain about something, about a person, an industry, a product, I think in my head, okay, is it valid? Why is it valid to you, Danny? And then I flip the role and say, how would I feel if someone came up to me with this issue? Is it a valid issue? Or are you just being a whiny little baby? And 85% of the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to say nothing because I just sound like I'm complaining for no good reason.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I want a magical vacation. I don't get a lot of, I don't get a lot of time off where I get to spend it with my family. So yes, I want the best that there is. And the thing is that I'm like Jimmy, it's like he says, I've run into great cast members now more than ever have before, and he's looking for them. The fact of the matter is that you
never used to have to look for him. That's what I'm saying.
See, the thing is, I don't even look for him, and I still run into some great people. And, there are a few that don't necessarily go the extra mile. And you know what? I kind of just let it go off my shoulder. But the thing is that, I just really honestly think that, one, you need to basically make sure that Disney knows that there are some cast members out there that kick butt and take names. You got to give that positive feedback just as much as you give out any constructive criticism. And two, if you have to give constructive criticism, don't take it to Facebook. Professionally and courteously talk to somebody about it. Something happened at a restaurant a couple of years ago. I won't even go to the restaurant. Won't even go what happened. I didn't even want to see a manager. I just went to the server. I said, hey, I just want to let you know this happened. And you're like, okay, do you want to talk to a manager? I said, no, I'm just letting you know this happened. And just so you guys can take care of it in the back. Okay. Manager still came out. He goes, well, can I get you anything else? I said, no, we're fine. I just want to let you know because I don't want this to happen to anybody else. I'm here as a guest. I just want everybody else to have a great time too. I want to be a good guest to other guests. And I think the manager was actually like really confused. Like he was almost like, gee, you want me to comp you something? No, I wasn't looking for a comp. I ate my dinner. It was wonderful. Loved Garden Girl. And so, it just depends on how you do it.
No, I don't want anybody to think that there's not good cast members, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I feel like there's less than there ever was. Just my personal opinion. Rewording it probably to sound better is I run into more negative situations with cast members now than I ever have before. And maybe it's because I'm older and I just have been working longer. I'm in industries longer and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's not even like my standards. Like that's bad.
Yeah.
Or are we Disney personalities now and we're kind of like we're a little more in tune to what's going on. Sure. It could be a cultivated, it could be accumulation of all of it. All I'm saying is I just feel like it's just a little bit less. And that to me is not Disney's fault. That's my generation's fault.
Yeah.
That's the generation before us.
Jimmy actually put it, he wanted to correct himself. He goes, wrong terminology because he's not looking for them, but I focus on recognizing the good ones instead of focusing on the mediocre ones. And I agree. Absolutely. Jimmy, I'm right there with you, my friend. And, that's the thing. You want to focus on the good.
This is the problem with the generation, though. Chris goes, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that cast members are getting attitude all day and anymore, and they just aren't going that extra mile. But that's not the way you were raised. You go the extra mile. Just because your boss is a jerk and poop does roll downhill, remember that, people. Poop rolls downhill. So if your boss is yelling at you, more than likely he just got chewed out. And by his boss was probably got chewed out. At the end of the day, every day when I leave my building in the morning and I get chewed out by a manager, I don't bring that on the road. I don't bring that to my customer because guess what? My customer has nothing to do with the situation. You want to have your spats at your boss? I don't recommend it. I'm a big proponent of it though. I do it all the time. But you keep that in the building. Just like when your bosses tell you to check your personal bags at the door, check your work bags at the door. When you go and you're dealing with a customer and you're in a customer-based industry, you got to, I don't care if it's a fake smile. Just don't sit there and be looking at your nails, be like, yeah, next. No, this is not Great Adventure, people. You're Disney. Let's go. Sorry, Great Adventure.
I've been to Great Adventure before. I know exactly what you're talking about. And,
all right, Chris. Anything else?
No, I don't. And I hope that people understand something. We have a free-for-all conversation here about this, and this is what makes us a little bit different than a lot of other places. We like to discuss things. We don't necessarily just share our opinion and let our opinion be it. Danny and I like to discuss things, to try to hash things out. We love getting the input from those who are a part of our, studio audience, so to speak. And at the same time, do understand something. That if there's something that we get wrong, we'll be the first person, first people, first group, first podcast to basically say, you know what, we got this wrong. And when we were corrected. So if there's anything that you think that, we just didn't get right, more than happy to discuss it with you on the side. Drop us a line, behindearspodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a message over at the Behind Ears Podcast Facebook page. And, or if you happen to be friends with one of us, drop us a private message. We'll figure it out. What?
I want you to read that.
Oh,
that's why I threw it up there while you were talking.
It's up there for me.
Sorry.
I was like, I was like, dude, what's this mean, man? And Jimmy brings this up. I was actually just about ready to say it, and I was too distracted at Danny's motions, but it was funny. Find a good one. And make sure to give him a tweet. And he's referring to cast members. Find a good cast member and give them a tweet at WDWToday, WDWTODAY, and use the hashtag cast compliment. And I will tell you this. I have seen people be able to use that WDW today and use the hashtag cast compliment, and Disney sees it. Disney reacts to it. And the more information you can provide, like if you could say Celeste over at the boardwalk, working behind the desk around this time was an absolute pleasure to work with, they'll know who you're talking about this. And I actually think that is a fabulous thing. And if you can't do that, if you're not a Twitter, whatever, go to guest relations. Let them know. And just say, you know what? I want to let you know something good. And they'll be more than happy to take your information.
Take us away, Chris.
I am going to take us away. And you know what? I like to take us away. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. I am Uncle Danny. That was Mr. Chris. We thank you all for sharing, commenting, attending, viewing, downloading, the whole 9 yards. For all our podcast listeners who download the show, we will be getting a bunch out this weekend. That is an Uncle Danny promise. And next week, we will be fully caught up with everything. And if you just listen to the show, if you just watch us, go ahead and download it. You might like some of the music. Ooh, intrigued? You should be. Go download it. I am Uncle Danny. Have a safe, wonderful weekend. Tuck your kids in tight. Tell them you love them. Drink that cranberry juice. You'll have a wonderful weekend.
And I'm Mr. Chris. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us. We love you guys. We thank you for joining us and being a part of our family. And by all means, until we meet again, we hope you have an absolutely magical day. Take care.